Quick question, what is an incel and why should I care? If you're not familiar with the term, enjoy not knowing for the next 30 seconds or so, but if you've encountered any of these terms or these memes, you brushed up against one of the most toxic and potentially dangerous internet subcultures out there. And even if you are familiar with the term, chances are you don't know how deep it goes or how bad it can get because you don't enjoy immersing yourself in toxicity. Well, we dove in so that you don't have to because let's face it, we've got a problem on our hands, people, so listen up.
These days, the term incel has narrowed to refer to a man without sexual or romantic experience, who has come to let that fact define his identity. They're among the most radical and vocal members of the manosphere, the online hotbed of toxic masculinity that champions men's rights, pickup artistry, and all manner of alt-right toxicity. To an incel, women and society are to blame for his celibacy. More specifically, he blames society for enabling women to discriminate against certain men based on genetics and appearance, which is called lookism. And this lookism enables what's called hypergamy, where 80% of women get to selectively date 20% of men, who are often handsome alpha males called chads. Or I should say the white alpha males are called chads.
Because this movement was born out of the far-right manosphere, their made-up lexicon has a lot of terms that are, let's face it, bigoted as all I don't want to say them out loud, but they are worth knowing about, so yeah, here they are. See them? Got it? Cool. Let's move on with our lives.
A normie, for instance, is anyone outside the circle who subscribes to mainstream feminism. Femoid is a term that refers to women but makes them subhuman. A Stacy is a female chad who may very well have one or more simps, who are men who are overly attentive or submissive to a woman. The term dates all the way back to 1997, before dating apps, Instagram, Facebook, or even MySpace. A young woman named Alana, who still hasn't revealed her full identity to this day, started a site called Alana's Involuntary Celibacy Project. It was on this site that she shortened the term involuntarily celibate to incel, which in her words referred to anybody of any gender who was lonely, had never had sex, or who hadn't had a relationship in a long time. She left the community in 2000 after being satisfied with her love life and the support she'd given others. And like many things on the internet, the community then took a turn for the worse. And like many things on the internet, men were pretty much the problem. Then we have the infamous pills. The blue pill being the ideology we subscribe to keep us obedient to feminist ideology. They, on the other hand, have taken the red pill, which has woken them up to the idea that female oppression is a myth and men are truly more suppressed in our society. You may recognize the motif of pills from The Matrix, a film franchise written and directed by two trans women. Yes, I know, the irony is delicious. But these incels have also added a black pill, which is the idea that society is fundamentally broken and only conventionally attractive people will succeed in life. If you're thinking to yourself, why would I give a shit about a bunch of frustrated alt-right virgins? That black pill should scare you. Because there's only two things you can do when you think that society is that irrevocably broken. You can Eldar, which is lie down and rot, or you can turn to violence. And there have already been several gun and knife attackers who have expressed loyalty to the black pill ideology. The most high profile of these attacks was a shooting in 2014 that killed 7 people, including the shooter, and injured 14 others. And it was most people's first exposure to the incel community. And scarier still, this shooter, who will remain anonymous on this show, posted written and video manifestos before his attack and is still regarded as a hero in the darkest corners of the incel community. Granted, not everyone who takes a red pill ends up becoming a full-on domestic terrorist, but the ideology is harmful enough since it encourages men to see women as objects, to view interactions with them as transactional, and to feel entitled to sexual experiences with women simply because they are men. And it's that ideology that already puts women in harm's way every single day.
So what do? It's tempting to mock and ridicule these guys, but they do have a point. There's a lot of pressure on masculine identified people to fit a very narrow definition of manliness. You know, does a lot of these, gets a lot of girls, hasn't talked about his feelings since before he had puberty. And when you feel like you fall short, it can be a very lonely and isolating experience, especially if you're young. And when you're only allowed to express your emotion through aggression and violence, frankly, what the f else do you expect? But here's the part that they get wrong. Women aren't the ones to blame for this.
These are products of a patriarchy that traffics in toxic masculinity. In reality, everyone's lives would be made better if men didn't feel obligated to meet such a narrow, malignant definition of what it means to be a man. But that's not going to happen until we can instigate constructive conversations. So if you do see people in your online orbit use any of these signature incel memes or terms, you can do your best to approach them empathetically or even refer them to mental health resources that can keep their frustration from becoming violence. It could end up saving people's lives. Or it could just help the internet become a less awful place, which is also a really great thing.